The flash of yellow aspen is the telltale sign that Father Winter is clawing his way south for the season, and that icy grip is only a few sunsets away. Dwindling days crank up the urgency levels for outdoorsmen and quarry alike, be it bugling elk or rising trout. The breathing collective buckles down to make the last bundles of hay while the sun is shining. For my first time, fall in the White Mountains was like nothing I've ever experienced. If you let the changing shades of the diverse topography control your gaze, you will no doubt be surprised by a thunder-bound sucker punch waiting over the ridge. This shoulder will throw every season your direction, and in 15 minutes, it will all change again. Prepare to shiver and sweat, burn from the sun and get soaked in the rain, but don't let that dissuade. If Colorado was a cinnamon roll, someone stole the center and plopped it down in this desert state. The fishy icing on top would be the opportunity to hold one of the world's rarest trout species.
Wow. That's one of the better ones.
Yeah, bro. That is a nice freaking fish.
Folks, this is going to be a few days fly fishing across Arizona. Now, I came down to the desert on good authority that it would only be a quote-unquote dry heat, but instead the air ran thick with humidity as torrential downpours kicked up tumbleweeds and flushed out gutters. Needless to say, my alley cat friends were none too pleased. Luckily, these flash thunderstorms never lasted too long, and the truck was packed up with all my gear and my sights were set east. I dropped my worries of desert dust storms and picked up my fishing partner for the weekend. While the saguaros stand as unwavering sentinels and the uniform beige melts away into cooling mountain town evergreen, this would be a perfect time to introduce my new friend. This is Jack. Like most of my fishing comrades these days, our friendship started over a few friendly DMs admiring all things fish. He caught wind that I'd be heading south for a bit, so we cooked up a fishy outing ASAP. Now, this trout wrangling fool literally grew up running the White Mountains and absolutely cracking down on anything that swims. Now, not all anglers are created equal. There are obviously levels to this game, and I can't think of a more eloquent way to say it, but there are just some folks out there that get fish. Jack, he just gets fish. I see it more as an instinctual thing, almost like a sixth sense or just a gut feeling. But folks that get fish, they don't overthink anything, but bring just enough skill and wit to get that fleeting upper hand over your trout adversary. The rod is but an extension of your body and can be used with surgical precision. Add that all together with a tough resolve and a willingness to grind, and that's basically Jack in a nutshell. This dude, he is a trout's worst nightmare. And now that I would consider us good friends, I don't feel weird about gassing him up because he is the real deal here in Arizona. Instagram had given me a hunch that he was onto something, but it was quite satisfying being able to witness another skillful angler in real time. But with brief introductions out of the way, let's get back to the blacktop because we had finally ditched the mountain towns and were basking in the golden light of a white mountain sunset. There was something undeniably familiar with this Colorado-esque landscape contrasting on the cotton candy sky. I couldn't put my nose on it just yet, but I could feel that this little corner of the Grand Canyon state was very special. With the aspen on fire and the sunset stealing my breath, the first impression of this region was proving to be a lasting one.
Pretty though, ain't it?
We've made it. What do you think?
We're stoked, buddy. We're stoked.
Holy cow. All right, well.
Let it begin.
Yes.
Let it begin.
I have no clue if I'm even setting this thing up right or not. Find out.
Yeah, test running it in the dark isn't the best, usually isn't the best practice round.
Yeah, usually not. Should I have brought the instructions? Probably.
Potentially.
No.
But we'll never admit that. Never admit that.
Exactly. I don't need no instructions. I'm a fan.
This is what I do. The campsite we landed at was well endowed with the leftover twigs and logs from months of summertime use. I got to work making a small fire teepee in the hopes that this damp stack would take kindly to a flame. With the proper coaxing and ample persuasion from cotton balls soaked in Vaseline, we were moving in the right direction. The last thing we needed was time and a touch of patience before our entertainment for the evening would turn into an oozing bed of coals that would protect us from the creeping cold.
How's fire looking over there?
We're getting there.
Slowly but surely.
She's a little wet.
Ooh, now we're kicking, baby. Come on, show me something.
The crackle was now holding at a steady rate, and Jack jumped right into Camp Chef mode. Burgers were on the menu, and we had brought all the fixings to build out an absolute masterpiece.
That is beautiful.
Baby.
Dude, you a toasted bun kind of guy?
This Angus treat was enjoyed to its fullest while the pop of the fire was occasionally interrupted by the raspy call of distant elk in the valley below.
That's an old one. You can tell that he was raspy.
Hours of stories were thrown into the fire, only to be hushed by the hoarse shrieks and rattling antlers of fighting bulls. Cold beer and emanating warmth coming from the fire makes it rather hard to pull the plug and decide to call it a night. But we both agreed, sleep, it was probably the right decision because tomorrow was set to be a full day of fishing. So I bid him farewell and I tucked myself into the front seat for a cozy cocoon slumber. Waking up to the comforting sound of a fresh fire certainly helped drag my sorry ass out of the truck. Even though we were all the way south in Arizona, the mountain air was telling us both that it was very much fall. Jack explained that our first target, the Apache Trout, they didn't really like to get going until 9 or 10 this time of year because, in reality, they don't like the cold any more than we do. This kind of behavior, it really reminds me of a lot of the cutthroat species that I've run across in other western states. And usually, I gotta admit, I'm quite in the rush to get out and get on the water before the sun even comes up. But this morning was a wonderful change of pace. Stirring the fire and chewing the cud from last night's conversations, it was a great way to soak it all in. It allowed for a healthy application of smoked cologne with just a dash of bacon grease. Truly the fragrance to win over the heart of any crunchy granola gal in your life. But with the sun getting stronger, we got to stuffing the truck and two-stepping out the fire. The sun was getting warmer, and it was finally time to boot scoot towards the river and look for some trout.
You've been putting in some work, man.
I tile.
Now, tell me this. Do you like the color black?
Yes.
I like those, man. Those look nice.
Black is something about it's just stupidly effective in this state. I think it's just because it's a very generic color. I don't know. You whip it past them quick enough, it looks like a minnow. It looks like a crayfish.
The silhouette. That's what you need it to do.
It's like, it's the funniest thing, like every single year, and this happens repetitively every single year, like as I'm about to run out of floating, I'll go to some creek and I'll find like a thing of it just laying in the water. It happened again this year, happened last year, the year before.
Gotta love it.
And it's just like, well, don't mind if I do that. But then I leave it in my car.
I will take that. Thank you.
With the blacktop behind us and Mount Baldy looming in the distance, this Arizona adventure had officially started. We might have been too eager because it was still a touch too early to be hitting the water, but this hurried pace was just enough to get the blood flowing back to those frozen toes. I could hear the stream talking off to my left, and after a while we ditched the footpath and got eyes on our challenge for the day. No doubt Jack had delivered on his description of this Apache stream, a meandering snake with log jams, undercut banks, and gnarly 90-degree bend plunge pools. The most classic small stream characteristics that can only be found in a wintertime daydream. Now, as excited as I may have been, like I said, it was still early. These groggy little guys were tucked in tight, bellies to the bottom. They knew exactly what they were doing. Why start feeding when there's no food to eat? Again, much like their cutthroat cousins, they don't start moving until the bugs do. Makes sense, right? So after our first few fishless holes, it had me thinking we could have sat by the fire just a little bit longer without making too much of a difference. But after getting eyes on this next hole, I was surely about to eat a whopping plate of crow for breakfast because this one, it looked juicy.
Ooh, wow, that looks amazing. That's like picturesque, like.
Yeah, if there's a hole in this creek where you're like, there's a big trout in here, it's this one. Like I said, dude, that cut goes way
That's
back in
yeah,
there.
that's
I poked
nice.
my rod back in there a bunch of times. And it goes right back. They're very opportunistic, so.
I figured flashy, you know.
Yeah, they like flash, dude. They like flash. No matter how you put it, they're still a trout.
Yeah. That's the good one.
Well, this morning's been a bit slow, but ladies and gentlemen, this is my first Apache trout ever, and it is an absolute beauty. This is why you come to Arizona. But yeah, I think with that, he's ready to get back. Let's see him back.
I had a hunch they might be slow to eat our dry fly offering, so I am very pleased this Apache decided to chew on my nymph instead. Suspended a few inches under an FAS adjustable dry dropper rig, it was a match made in heaven for this creek. Deceptively deep, a lot of these pools will trick the eye into thinking that they're rather shallow, so I find having an adjustable dry dropper can cover a wide range of depths, and really it works wonders. If you have any interest in these kind of patterns, I have more than a few videos on my page of fly recipes and techniques that might be worth a gander, but you should definitely do that later. For now, let's keep things streamside.
I mean, it couldn't be any more fall. This is fantastic.
The bright blotches of paper white bark and fiery yellow leaves put an incredible contrast on the deep green brought on by the dominant spruce. The cold on the ground was a sign of colder days on the horizon, but that mid-morning breeze still had a faint but very sweet kiss of summer. We were no doubt pushing the limits of wet wading, but it seemed like we would Indiana Jones slide our way into the clear for at least one last trip. While we moseyed our way up the creek, our angling eyes are constantly scanning the area for any sort of fishy clues. Shadows, bugs, undercuts, boot prints, and tailing fish tend to pull the most attention, but suddenly a white blotch caught our eye. And if we hadn't already found that first fish of the day and a few bites, I would have taken this dead Apache as a very bad omen. It's kind of strange to see such an intact fish just croaked out like that, but the raccoons will certainly appreciate our efforts to exhume this fishy sacrifice and leave him on the bank for a nice dinner.
When it's not for nothing, but it's like, man, this actually means something to me, and I'm a little upset.
Exactly. Damn, this was a cool day.
Oh shit, that was one for sure, skis. That was a fish.
You can attack small streams like this in any number of ways. It can be argued that some are more effective than others, but I suppose that is mostly subjective. Luckily, Jack and I were on the same page when it comes to overall strategy. Run and gun at light speed, that's the game we like to play. And what does this mean? Well, that means you cast into a few high percentage points in the water and you keep your happy ass moving. We are covering a lot of stream miles and looking for the active fish in the system. Sure, you could sit there and change your flies and downsize your tippet all day long, but with young legs and restless casting arms, we would both much rather play leapfrog and prospect until we find our desired quarry. And with the sun finally reaching strong through the needles, we had the utmost faith our strategy, it would be paying off soon.
I just don't understand who comes out here, drinks a Coors Light, and is like...
And it's like, I'm going to toss this into the creek. Yeah, that's good. That's a good place for it. Is there any way I could put this in one of your side pockets?
I just don't get people.
Well, yeah, we're doing our part.
Exactly.
Getting that. Oh wow, that rock one looks nice.
That's a pretty one.
Nice,
this
man.
This one right here is the juice one, though. I usually
Yeah, give it a.
from above.
Okay, yeah, give it a rip. No. We'll start hopscotching again once you get yours, or leapfrogging. But definitely, let's have you get on one.
I'm just waiting on that one to come up and grab that dry fly, man. I'm ready for it.
That's a good one.
That's a good fish.
That's a really
That's
good
a great fish, man.
Woo, doggy, let's go, brother, man.
Let's go.
Oh, now we're talking business.
That's one of the better ones I
Damn,
pulled out of here
bro.
this year.
That is a nice freaking fish. What do you take? The bottom?
Yep, tick drop. Apache trout are notoriously like the spazziest trout I've
Sloppy
ever come
boys.
across. Yep. Every single ramp. Dude, that's a beauty. Wow.
Wow, dude. That's the shot for Trout Unlimited right there. Come on, man. Wow, that tail. Wow, dude. That's a thick fish, buddy.
Dude.
That's what you want.
That's wicked, bro. Let's go.
That's what you want.
That's what we came up
Hell
here for.
yeah.
That's what you don't find at West Fork.
West Fork, this is unheard of at work.
Wow.
Let's go, dude.
That's what you want. Now we shake off the skunk. Now we shake it all off. Get the heck out of town. That was sweet. That was sweet. That's a very healthy specimen. That's nice.
That is damn near as healthy as they come. Yeah, that's the trout Unlimited shot, dude.
The spots are so beautiful in the tail, man. That's a thick tail. I mean, you could really, Yeah. You give it a little woohoo. That's what you want to see, man.
Oh, dude, let's go. Skunks off for everyone now. We're vibing.
Chilling. Now, would it be too early to crack the brewski? Because this, I mean,
I usually save the brewskis for victory, and I'd consider that a victory.
I think that's a pretty big victory. Exactly. Well, let's find a sunny spot, a nice rock, and crack her open. Let's say to that rock pile over there. Yeah, that's a good one.
There's many a times I've gone for a little dip out here. Taking the pack off for a little bit's always nice too.
Sunscreen. Here's 2.
This weather's just awesome. Oh, God bless you, my friend. Oh, boiler.
Cheers.
Baby.
While we sip in celebration, I think it's time to do a little bit of a deep dive on these wild Apache trout. And I'm sure you have all seen the clickbait thumbnails and crazy titles about how this is the rarest trout in the world and how they are on the very brink of extinction. And in this case, those parties, they're not technically wrong, but with a bit more information, the picture doesn't look nearly as doom and gloom, and in reality, these fish aren't that hard to find if you're in the White Mountains and you know where to go. But before we can talk about this particular stream and the strain of Apache trout swimming in it, Oncorhynchus apache needs a bit more background for those of you out there who are unfamiliar with this quote-unquote desert trout. Okay, put your history hats on and buckle up, because 80 and several 100,000 years ago, in an ice age far, far away, fish species resembling the modern rainbow trout used to run up untold numbers of interconnected river systems descending from the Rocky Mountains. The science is still a bit unclear on the exact reason and the timing, but they think some cataclysmic shift happened in a number of watersheds in the Southwest, which isolated the trailblazing fish from their original populations that stem from the Pacific or from the Gulf of Mexico. The Apache have a very similar story to their Gila neighbors down south and the striking golden trout from the Sierra Nevadas. They just got trapped. So the rainbow trout relatives that used to swim up what is now the Salt, Black, and White River drainage have been genetically isolated and evolved separately in what my buddy Jack calls an island of pines. Not so much Gila and not so much rainbow. More often than not, they get mistaken for some odd cutthroat species. But to the trained eye, these unique trout have a look all to their own. Base colors can range from a sandy yellow to a deep olive, with various specklings and blue spots along a faint pink line that are more than enough to grab the attention. Now, contrary to popular belief, these trout have a very low tolerance for heat, even though they are constantly labeled as the quote-unquote desert trout. Historically, they thrived in the free-flowing rivers and streams in this mountainous corner of Arizona, but like most native trout, they have been hit hard by the ugly side effects of modernity. It's the same story, just a different setting. We've all seen black and white pictures of full stringers, land scalped by agriculture and livestock, and most recently, hellacious fires sterilizing hundreds of miles of wilderness. And don't get me wrong, all those are rough, but none are more threatening than non-native trout. Be it pressure from the more resilient brown and brook trout or hybridization of their Oncorhynchus cousins, known remnant populations of Apache trout are few and far between. Especially when you look at their historic range, it can seem a bit bleak. But instead of sitting here and sensationalizing the potential extinction of a species, I would like to offer a bit more information and possibly a brighter picture. This little stream that Jack and I are fishing on today should be the poster child for statewide Apache trout restoration. 10 years ago, robust fish barriers were made and all the invasive fish were purged to completion. This allowed for a fresh start of a neighboring strain of Apache trout to be reintroduced. It didn't take long for a wild population to start up again and propagate throughout the upper watershed. Jack says that he's seen a steady increase in both the quality and quantity of fish in this stream since it opened up to anglers. Now, what glitters isn't always gold. There are still some massive conservation mishandlings around this issue, but steps are being taken to undo the actions of our great-grandparents, even if that means they're still trying to manage it like our grandparents. And you may be able to see what I'm talking about later on in this video, but that is more than enough talking. It's time to finish our beers and get back to fishing.
Yeah, they were munching good.
Exactly. So that makes me think there might just be like, because with how good the hatch is going right now, there might have just been like a crazy hatch like yesterday afternoon and like some full or something.
Yeah.
You never know.
Little gluttons. Huh, that was weird. There it is.
Downsize is the trick, baby.
8-ball corner pocket is exactly where you want to see that dry fly muncher pinned. We watched yet another excellent specimen shimmy back into its gravel fortress, and like Jack had said, downsizing seemed to be the right move. But we may have made this change a little too late in the morning because just as we thought we had figured things out, the trail began to get busy. Now with this being a popular hike on its own, especially here in the fall, we fully expected to see folks out and about. But as we kept our eyes on the trail, we started to see other fly-wielding anglers heading further upstream. Now Jack and I are both a bit restless when it comes to fishing space, so instead of eventually running into those older gentlemen in a few hours time, we agreed to double back and hit the holes that didn't yield much in the chill of the morning. Plus, it was already mission accomplished for the most part. I had managed my first Apache, and we both kicked the skunk.
Yeah, it's nice.
Whoa, you got one?
Nice little feller.
Super olive on him.
All the pars. Woo.
Oh yeah.
Hot dog. There we go. Off camber, we got him.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
We'll take it.
Winter is the, like, I get king melancholy. I get so fucking sad. I hate it. I have to eat it right now.
Trout are weird, bro.
Yeah, trout's gonna trout at the end of the day. There we go.
Yeah, like, you notice how unique they all are, dude? Like, they all got a,
Yeah, this
like,
one's
a
much
different-
lighter.
Yeah, exactly. They all got different spotting patterns to them.
Oh wow, he's
Beautiful.
yeah, pretty little fish.
Oh, that purple dimple's so beautiful.
Gorgeous, isn't it? Ready for release?
Yeah, man. Just have it zoomed in.
Oh crap.
Easy as that.
Bye.
Good
Let's
stuff,
go,
man.
dude.
Let's go. Oh, yes, nice. Oh, rats. I saw him come up, that was cool. That's exactly what you're talking about. Oh, come on.
Yeah, what's that? He just kissed it.
I could see him looking at it. I can see exactly where he is. I can say he came up, he was like, maybe I'll eat that, maybe I'll eat that. Yeah, they might be getting hip to our advances.
Seeming a little like it.
Come on. You kissed it, eat it again.
Come on, baby. Come on now.
Oh my gosh, he's splashing the shit out of it.
They want it, dude.
Something
They
tells
want
me
it.
maybe downsizing. That's like in one drift he eats it twice. That's insane.
Yeah, dude. These things are hungry.
Eat it, dude. Come on.
There he is. Oh boy, that's a pretty one, dude.
There we go. Let's go. Dude. Plan B.
Let's go. Oh yeah, dude. He's so different than these for the first few that we caught. Oh yeah. He's much lighter. Super unique.
Oh,
just Sam straight on.
Yep.
Perfect.
Let's go, dude.
That's sick.
That's awesome, man. This is exactly what you want. Yeah, this is a pretty active little hole. There was a couple fish in there.
That was kind of fascinating to me, dude. You really don't see stuff like that.
No.
At least with like the bigger ones like that.
Like I had alluded to a bit earlier, we were set to see some very strange management practices throughout this trip. So, with the blacktop in sight, we pulled up to the bridge and witnessed our first inconsistency of the day.
I could watch trout TV all day. Yeah, more like bait fishing. This is what they're used to. Yeah, it should be right in this neighborhood. Oh, come on, man. Ah. Teach me how to set the hook, would you? Yeah, there's one. So, again, kind of further along that, more towards your left. I'm gonna try and target that one now that I just poked that one.
Jesus Christ, that's a big fish. That's a good one, yeah. Oh wow, yeah, I just saw him swimming down there. He's a good sized one.
He was not eager to take that.
Yeah, no, not really. Very shy.
Getting some awesome footage.
There it is.
That's a good fish.
Nice.
Let's go, dude. Well, we got closer to the parking lot and we found ourselves quite a bit of stalkers. It's weird how some of these streams here, you get wild further up you go, like we were catching all morning. And then you get these guys that are kind of, unfortunately, cannon fodder for the grease in the skillet. But yeah, it's Fish and Game's problem, not ours. But yeah, this guy, he ate the dry and I'm okay with that. But I think he's ready to get back. So let's... Thank you, sir. Wow, let's go.
We managed to pick off a few more fish out of this hole, but I could not shake this weird feeling. It seems so strange to me to be stocking a threatened fish species for catch and keep purposes. Now, I'm no biologist, that should come as no surprise, but I certainly know how to read. And it's almost ubiquitous throughout the leading literature in this field that stocked fish are detrimental to the actual recovery of a species and longevity of a fish stock. Salmon, steelhead, cutthroat, Apache, Gila, you name it, hatchery-reared fish create an imbalance in the biomass and work to muddy the genetics of more resilient wild populations. Again, from what I've read and personally experienced, if you let them be, nature will make a more durable and adaptable organism. You know, the way Darwin intended. Expensive fish pellets on our tax dollar tab used to make some dough bait eating, no instinct, floppy fin mushball dullard makes no sense to me. Stock trout, they don't even taste that good. I don't get it. Stream recovery, restoration projects, and altered bag limits seem much more effective if you are truly trying to create a robust fish stock and recover a species. And it's not like Arizona's even lacking in catch and keep opportunities, especially for non-native species like brown and rainbow trout. But hey, what the hell do I know? I'm just some guy tossing a fly around after all. So after annoying these poor fish, we bid them farewell and clambered back to the parking lot. Stop one, it was a major success and it was time to hit the road and seek out greener pastures, or in this case, gold. Drinking in the beauty of this new region and gawking at the local fauna was nothing short of a treat as the mountain roads weaved us around like a predetermined Hot Wheels track. It seemed like in the snap of a finger, we were at the next access spot ready to rip. But before we could jump back onto the water, we needed to refuel before our afternoon push.
Handling sensitive camera equipment.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some rain protection, not the best, but some.
I can't say I'm afraid of any sort of judgment at this point because as nasty as it may sound, my peanut butter and pretzel taco on white bread was nothing short of a culinary masterpiece, only to be topped when the pretzels were replaced with salt and vinegar potato chips. Garbage can taste buds are a virtue when caloric intake is the overall goal. This was the perfect fuel to kickstart the engines for our second session of the day. And with signs of summer still lingering around, we had every bit of confidence that this meadow stream would still have a few residents looking up for their lunch. So, with rain gear preemptively tucked into our bags, we set off across the golden field. Now, it must be said, we pulled up to this access point right as two other anglers were getting off. Super nice dudes, but they reported doing pretty well and catching more than their fair share, so naturally we weren't all that shocked when we didn't get so much as a sniff at our first few runs. But with the sketchy clouds gathering overhead and shifting winds swirling, it didn't take long for those fish to turn their feed bags back on.
That's an Apache.
That's Apache, yep.
That's a good one, dude. Oh, that's
He's tubby. Look at him. Damn, boy.
Let's go, dude.
He's so chunky. He couldn't get through the net if he tried. Yeah, it's football season, baby.
Damn. That's a chunky boy. That's a chunky boy.
That's
Good. Oh, there he goes. Now, what we were messing with him, did you hear thunder by chance?
a little bit in the distance.
You heard that, right? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not going nuts.
Yeah, you're not tripping.
Okay, that was lightning,
I'd
yeah.
say it sounded like it was coming from that direction.
Yeah.
Right there, which sounds about right. That's the higher elevation stuff.
It seems like everything's kind of coming from this direction, though, weather-wise,
We'll
where
just
everything's moving.
keep our eyes and ears open.
Exactly. All else fails, we've got a short little jog back.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
It's not even that.
Yeah, it just helps keep some of that water off.
Yep. That's smart.
There he is. On the board. Yeah, if there's some way you could just like get us a clip of his fin and just be like, what were your genetics and where did you come from?
No, right? Like, what part of the Appalachians is this from?
Are you from like Maine or like Canada?
No, exactly.
So cool.
Gorgeous.
Well, there we go, brother man.
Let's go, dude.
Afternoons,
Let's go.
turning around.
Species number 2 on the day.
Shoo!
It's literally like a split second and then goes back to the same thing. It's like the wind.
Look at those boys.
See that? On the tree line up there? That looks like real ass rain.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's coming towards us, but then it was kind of blowing out. I mean, that is like legit rain. Yeah.
Perfect good shit. From what I can tell, so that little clear patch just behind the rain there,
Yeah.
that was like over the slot in the canyon over there.
Not but
Like
20
10
minutes, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's moving that way, not towards us, at least for the moment.
Yeah, but then I'm worried about what we don't see behind that.
That's that, yeah.
If we're getting spit on kind of lightly. I don't know, it almost does look like it's getting light right there.
It's
Yeah, I know.
Proceeding upstream with caution, Jack gave me the strange story of this little creek. If we were to simply break down Apache trout management into 3 categories, the good, the bad, and the ugly, well, we've already seen the good. That would be our bustling wild population found in our first stream. We also got a small look at the ugly, with the pellet-fed, bobber-dodging stalkers just below the bridge, and now we are seeing the weird middle ground of the bad, and bad might be a bit too much because clearly there are still wild Apache trout living here, but for saying's sake, I'm gonna use bad. Jack went on to explain how Arizona Game and Fish and other partners did a massive restoration project on this particular watershed. This involved the removal of non-natives while at the same time creating 2 quote-unquote impassable fish barriers further downstream. You know, just a couple $1 million here and there and years of planning and work involved. Nothing too much. This, much like other projects, was all in the hopes that the reintroduced Apache trout would take hold and be protected from those pesky non-natives. Good intentions, just poor execution. Browns have already made it past the first fish barrier, and I have it on good authority that they're already past the second as well. And all those brookies that were crushing our dry flies in the meadow, well, they should not be here. As fun as it was to catch these East Coast gems, it was bittersweet. These char are relatively hardy critters, and despite considerable efforts to remove them, they found a way to loiter in the headwater trickles and shimmy their way back downstream once the pressure to purge was off. Over the years, Jack has seen a steady decline in the natives, and on an average day, he says it's about a 1 Apache trout to every 5 or 6 brookies. And today, it might have been an outlier in the Apache department because we did pretty well. And I promise my negative tone is not meant to sensationalize the doom and gloom around this species because it's phenomenal they are even here for us to fish for in the first place. And just stepping into this issue for less than a day, the confusing management of this special species makes me feel like I must be missing something. But the conviction Jack speaks with about this issue is more than enough to tell me anglers really do care about this problem and they want to see some sort of resolution. Now, what Arizona Game and Fish actually decides to do about this failed restoration, that's somewhat unclear for the future. So, releasing the last fish of the day, we both had to just kind of sit there and scratch our heads and wonder how much longer these fish would be here for us and other anglers to appreciate. So, with speculative talks back and forth about the fish stock longevity, we made our way back to the truck. I suppose you could blame it on youth or on the anxious feeling a crisp fall evening gives you, but after a full, and I mean full day of fishing, we decided to pig out and push for the 3rd species on the day. Even though there were clearly brown trout swimming below the first fish barrier, we still had to hike down past the second one before we were legally allowed to fish. With the cat out of the bag, it seemed silly, but we still abided by their rules. And with our stamina waning and ambition clearly getting the best of us, I was so glad to turn around and see Jack hooked up with our first and last brown of the day.
I wasn't recording. Nice. 3 species day. Beautiful boy.
See you, buddy.
That's how it's done.
3
dude.
down,
Good
buddy.
shit.
3 down.
Let's go.
The controversy around Salmonella in Arizona is a whole separate issue that I might have to touch on a bit later, but for now, it was time to hike out and find somewhere to hunker down for the night. Swirling storms were about to crush the area, and we had yet another early morning well on the horizon. Jack's connections in the area paid off in droves because a cold and depressive downpour crushed the White Mountains all throughout the night. Well rested and safe from the elements, we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to tackle a new day. Our sights had been set on the White Mountain Apache Reservation, but our overall enthusiasm was throttled down swiftly after receiving our first uneasy omen of the day.
That might be a bad omen. That could very well be a bad omen.
Sure enough, the first option of the day was a Nesquik chocolate milk mess and blown out beyond its banks. Unflinching, Jack listed off an immediate plan B, and without breaking stride, we landed at what seemed to be some fishable water.
All right, brother man. It's game time.
Let's get it, buddy. Let's get it.
You've been here a season or two.
Oh, yeah. It's like you always think, too, it's like if this fish is like 10 years old, like I won't. Shut up. Oh, he's like giving you this. He's like giving you funny and whatnot. Move!
Worms on the road and more rain looming, weary eyes forecasted a wet day. So while we bundled up, I think I should give some more context on fishing the reservation. This was actually my first time ever doing any sort of recreating on Native American reservations. Now, there are many things to be said about the reservation system throughout the United States, but I'm going to purely focus on the outdoor recreation side as to stay out of the weeds. So, essentially, each reservation is considered its own sovereign nation. Some are much more accepting of outsiders than others, and the White Mountain Apache tribe is a great example of this. They're very welcoming of outsiders fishing and hunting on their land, and much like other states, they have their own tribal license system to allow non-tribal members to recreate on certain portions of their land. The previous night, the nice folks at the gas station were more than happy to ring me up and point me in the right direction of where they like to fish. So if you're looking to do some fishing on native lands, do your research and don't be afraid to give their conservation department a ring to get a better understanding of the regulations in place. But with our rods rigged and cold droplets nipping at exposed skin, we crossed the pasture in the direction of the canyon, and we could barely make it to the tree line before fall took a nasty turn towards Father Winter.
At least hail's dry.
Yeah, no kidding. The skunk, it was a bad omen.
Indeed.
Because it's literally hailing now.
You should have listened to the skunk.
Should have listened to the skunk. It was literally just sunny.
The whole time we're setting up, dude. Where'd it go? It's nowhere around here now.
Not quite sure if you guys can see that, hear that, any of that, but that is an Arizona brown trout on the streamer. High water streamer muncher, that's awesome. Well, we didn't get skunked. Whew.
Oh, there we go. That's an Apache, it looks like.
Nice.
The first fish fluke is always a possibility I run through my head on days like today. Luckily, those worries were soon dispelled when another Arizona brown came up and smashed my swinging nymph setup. The rushing water gave them a bit more fight, and once I got him to the hand, it gave us both the confidence needed that this rain was encouraging them to feed. So we both agreed to proceed with caution and keep an eye on this bipolar weather as we entered the narrow canyon.
All right, if you get wet like that, if you just no heroes, okay? If you get cold, we can go back.
Oh, I know the deal, buddy. So just keep that flood flow.
Cause yeah, this is
Oh, it's hypo.
this is prime time.
Yeah.
Prime time. I might be able to get it. Yeah, it looks juice. Yeah.
Following the scar carved by the river wasn't exactly the easiest task. Wet boulders were the ever-present death traps testing the resolve of silly boot tread. This might be the only time ever I hold envy for ranging cattle because 4 legs would have worked wonders in this ankle-breaking jungle gym. Once we weaved back down towards the water, the rain seemed to subside for a bit, but the browns kept pouring the pressure on.
Was that a double? That was almost a double. Holy cow.
That was so sick.
Wow, that was nuts.
A little small.
Yeah, that's a good fish.
Look at the head on him, dude. That's gorgeous.
He's got some chompers and some cheeks on him, man. Beautiful.
Alrighty. Come on here, fella.
Delightful.
Let's go, dude.
Woo!
There he is. That's good fish. Yeah, it is. Nice.
Let's go, dude.
Not a bad boy. Well, this morning was far from ideal, but we've got a little part in the rain, and the Browns, they're going downtown, baby. They want the big meat, so we'll see him back and hopefully find a couple more just like him. What's up?
All the way to the heavens above, Jack sings the praises of small black streamers here in Arizona. Doesn't matter what stream, doesn't matter what fish, doesn't matter what season, that's what the man is throwing. I had more than a few locked and loaded in the box, and if any of you out there are interested in this exact pattern, well, you're in luck. This is what I like to call the drift missile, and I've got a tying video out there if any of you would like to make a few of your own. It's short, it's stout, and these are about as heavy as you can make a streamer of this size. Absolutely perfect for fast water and undeniably effective. Of course, you can have all the fancy flies in the world, but as you can see, they will be rendered utterly useless if you are a true blue dumbass like myself.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Shit!
Is he still on? Oh, he's still
He's
on.
somewhere.
He's at the thing. Oh, net him. Oh, shit. It works still.
I do this. Holy mess.
That's hilarious.
I'm such a dumbass. Cool. I'm a professional.
It still works. It's
AKA dumbass.
I briefly touched on this at the end of day 1, but I think it might be worth stopping for a bit to discuss our familiar friend, old Salmotruta. These crafty little fish are not native to the United States, but have a near cult following in the eyes of game fishermen. Hailing from continental Europe and parts of Asia, these fish were introduced into Arizona waters in the late 1800s and early 1900s, much like a lot of the other western states. With warming waters and crayfish booms abound, these hardy salmonids have established a robust wild fish stock throughout the state. Now, as enjoyable as they are to target on the fly, they do outcompete the native fish. So in the pendulum swing of overcorrection, brown trout have a target on their buttery back for the foreseeable future. Jack mentioned several well-known rivers that are under the gun for potential restoration projects. This means shocking or poisoning existing wild fish populations and a 2 to 5 year closure to any outsiders. Obviously, the browns in the stream are doing mighty fine and aren't going anywhere anytime soon. but it's always a wonder how long brown trout as a species will be around and whether or not we're living in the good old days for fishing them here in the US and especially here in Arizona. As fate would have it, those handful of browns would end up being our last of the trip. Maneuvering around pockets of pines and getting up and over some more slippery boulders, we reached a pinch point guarded by a waterfall. With the drive back to Phoenix still in our future, we both agreed to make our final stand here, and boy howdy, did Jack find himself a wonderful little surprise.
No, oh, nice. No. Nice. Yeah, dude. Oh, I missed him. Oh my God, that's a freaking pig. Ow! What the hell? What the hell was that?
I'll take that any day.
Oh shit. What the fuck was that? Wow. That's incredible, my man. That's so awesome.
Yeah, check out the dorsal on this guy. Massive.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a cherry on top right there, man.
That's
Wow.
as good as it gets. So it's like the bead is like right there, and it's heavy as hell. It sinks like a rock, and it's just got a ton of flash in there. So like,
Yeah, I dig that.
it gets attention. It gets attention.
Yep. That's a femur breaker right there.
Oh yeah.
Knee terror. Yeah, but whatever he was doing it right, because he seemed healthy.
Somewhat shocked by the size of that stocked Apache, we thought it might be worth hitting a few more holes on our way back downstream. I wasn't able to find much, but Jack connected with yet another slab lip holdover.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my God.
These fish were stocked throughout the reservation, and much like the stateside stockers, they are meant to be caught and kept. But trout, hey, they're gonna trout, and these stockers are finding a way to box out the canyon browns. After that last artificial bar of gold swam back, that officially marked the end of my first Arizona journey. We stumbled across the pasture like a marathon finish line, and the confetti boom of heavy rain celebrated the success of our White Mountain speed run all the way back to the desert. Expectations are a funny thing. The last few months leading up to this outing have been nothing short of a whirlwind. Moving 100 miles an hour with razor-sharp planning has a way of building up Everest-like expectations. Now, when it all works out, you feel like you've entered Valhalla. But this double-edged sword cuts deep when expectations fall flat. Hades-like self-hate is swift to follow any failure of a significant trip. Arizona was never meant to be a major destination, and planning for time out on the water, it was minimal. In reality, my stay in Phoenix was a poor attempt at avoiding winter while beginning to crack into some of the bigger edits from the summer. I had a few loose plans and goals I wanted to achieve while in a new place, but there was really no rush. The weather and timing were proving to be a problem, and I wasn't all that motivated to press my luck after a very long season. I say all this to highlight the fact that I held zero expectations for what this trip was supposed to be. It just kind of happened. Jack and I, we rolled with the many punches thrown our way and didn't really flinch when things went sideways. We caught so many damn fish, all to the backdrop of a breathtaking autumn in the White Mountains. Not only did I tick off some major marks on my fishy bucket list, but I received a secondary education from an astute angler who knows Arizona trout waters better than his backcast. Even though this was a rather short 2-day growing season, the seed had been planted. Jack and I have already cooked up plans for the seasons to come, and I cannot wait, cannot wait to touch back down in the great state of Arizona. Well, howdy folks, if you are seeing this, then that means the video is over, and Like always, I just have to say thank you so much for sticking around and watching these videos all the way through. It really means the world that you guys enjoy these videos, and outside of the YouTube algorithm, you know, the whole like, comment, subscribe thing, it's all a racket in my mind. I just like seeing other folks getting stoked on cool fishing adventures, and just because this particular video is over does not mean the adventure is over. We would love to have you around and see you in the next video. And if you can't wait and you're looking for some more fly season action, go check out our other platforms. We got Instagram, Discord, and even a website. And if you're shy about leaving YouTube comments, don't worry. All those other platforms are great places to reach out to me directly so we can kind of talk back and forth, talk shop, so to speak. And if those extra platforms prove to be insufficient, you just can't wait to get on some more fly season content, go check out the Patreon. This is more information-based videos, let's just say. It's a great way to get into the nitty-gritty and the exacts of an adventure like this. It's pretty much just me sitting down and talking to you as a friend, what I did, how I did, and more of the why I did, if that makes sense. And it's also an amazing way to support the channel and help these videos kind of go through. And piggybacking off of that, just got to give a quick shout out to the various brands that partner with Fly Season and help make these adventures possible. You know who you are? Thank you very much. But that is more than enough for me, folks. And wherever you find yourself, be it in the White Mountains of beautiful Arizona or in your backyard, I sure hope you keep those feet in the water. And until next time, tight lines.